lot of it comes with experience. I've been doing this for 13 years, and it's my job to get to the root of, like, what is this change going to be for that person, and get to the root very, very quickly. And so the way that I work, which actually really helps me do my job efficiently and effectively, is to create a pre-consultation questionnaire. And it's so interesting because when people fill that form out and send it back to me, quite often they'll say to me, "Oh, that was so interesting doing that, because I had to ask questions that I hadn't asked myself before." And it helps them see the mess in their mind so much more clearly and helps them pinpoint. And I think one of the biggest catalysts for actually making a change in your life and moving forward is making sure that the timing is right for you.
Oh, what does that mean?
Yeah. So some people will say, "Oh, I'm ready." But when it comes down to the discussion about what's going to happen and how it's going to happen, they'll stall.
So give me an example of that. Say, I'm ready to change my career. I've been stagnant. I studied, say, 20 whatever years ago. I've been a specialist in one area, but you know what? I am ready to leave being a lawyer, and I want to be a personal coach.
Yes.
So what's the point? What's the sticky point there?
Yes. Well, it depends on the individual, but someone that is not ready to do it will stay in that talking phase for a very long time. And then when we come back for another meeting, not much work has been done, or there'll be excuses.
Yeah.
So the timing is not right for them. Whereas if you want to make a change and the timing is right, generally it's like, where can I sign? I'm ready to do this now. How do I do it? And they're off.
I feel that that's such a beautifully unpacked indicator of someone's readiness. You're so right. And I definitely, we've talked about this before. I get so many calls and people ask me, how can I change? How can I do this? And the ones who are ready, whatever I suggest to them to pursue, or things that I've done, they are already booked at the doctor. They've got their blood test ordered, their supplement stack is ready to go, and they've cleaned out their wardrobe because they're ready to present themselves differently. You do not have to prompt them. You don't have to follow them up. They are there. The pain point or the inspiration. I always think there's two things that get you there: pain or inspiration.
Correct.
Has got them ready.
Yeah. Correct. And look, some people need to think about things longer than others, which is absolutely fine. And everyone's different, but you do know if someone's ready, they're off.
So let's talk about that readiness and how, as a coach, as someone who specializes in relaunching, let's talk about first what you consider relaunching a life or a career or your personal brand, what that means in a professional kind of context. If I came to you as a professional.
Sure. So I specialize in business coaching. So helping people with their businesses, whether that's, like evolving, relaunching, or quite often they may be integrating a new business of some sort. But as we said earlier on, it goes hand in hand with you personally as well, because when you run your own business, 9 times out of 10, the business is a reflection of you personally. There's got to be a level of passion in there. And so basically...
And congruency, right? Like
absolutely.
Whatever we're doing, particularly in a small or medium-sized business, there has to be that congruency. This is my business, this is who I am, and I believe in it, and I live it.
Yes. And that's why businesses evolve over time, is because we grow as people over time. And I remember saying to someone, must have been about 5 or 6 years ago, I consider myself like a fine wine. I plan on getting better with age. Now, that mentality was not around 15 years ago. It was kind of like, oh, when I hit a certain age, things will start dying off, and then I'll step back, and, all that. You become invisible, which we've spoken about recently as well.
Oh, gosh, yes.
How times have changed, but I don't think it's changed for everyone. But all the facilities, all the experts, and all the pieces of the puzzles are there for you to grab the team, grab the knowledge, shift your mindset, and then go wherever you want to go. Like there's no limits, which is fabulous.
Well, I think that's such a empowering kind of way to do it. It's like, you know what, this area of my life isn't working. I'm going to hand it over to the expert. Do your thing. I won't get in your way. That's what I'm hearing in this story, that we can apply to anything, like, you know, whether it be your accountant or your stylist. But I do have some good news that in my book, Rescue Me, I worked with two stylists, Colette Worden and Emma Reed, both of them amazing. So Colette Worden,
Colette's amazing.
Yeah, she is. She really is. And so she has contributed an enormous amount to the transformation chapter. So she'll take you through a wardrobe cleanse and also understanding your body and your proportions and ratios. And then Emma Reed has created incredible style guides and capsules based on archetypes, and also broken down every single retailer, their key style and what key items to buy. So you can, if you don't have hundreds and thousands of dollars to buy new clothes or even hire a stylist, the book you can use for that, because again, expert advice, there is nothing better. And when I remember when Colette went through my wardrobe when we were shooting for the book, it was like, oh my God, we threw so many things away. And then she created so much peace and joy in my life when everything was organized and turned into capsules and color coded and event, you know, I understood where and how to wear it. It was really, it released a lot of energy. And I've also had advice from stylists before, and I think it is magical. It's like,
I agree.
It's a great pivot.
I think it's really important to try to work out, well, first of all, to identify your strengths and your weaknesses, because that helps give you confidence. Once you identify your strengths, you're like, yeah, I'm feeling good about myself. I know that I'm good at that. And then also looking at what you've done in the past from a career perspective that you enjoyed. And quite often you'll look back and go, oh, I really didn't like doing that. But that's just as good to know, because then you know I really do need 100% change going forward. And then just working out my strengths, my skills, my qualifications, and again, calling in the experts and working out where to from here. I actually went through that entire scenario myself, and that's how Relauncher was born. I took the time off from work when I had both boys, because they're so close in age, they're 18 months apart. So I didn't work for about 3 years. And when it came time to work again, and that's through choice, I was like, I need to get a bit of my own life back. I don't want to be a mumsy mum. I just didn't want to go back into corporate. I was like, I never enjoyed it. Why would I go back into that? And that's how Relauncher was born. But I felt I'd lost all my confidence because technology had sped up so much. But between the time that I stopped working and the time that I was going to go back, emails were a thing, faxes weren't the thing, you know, like the life had just completely changed. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to get back into the office and not know what on earth's going on. I'm going to be so out of date. And I think that is that moment of realization for so many women when they go, oh my gosh, I'm not going to understand what's going on in the workforce where they were before. And also they've got all the fresh blood that's come through, all the young people. And it's quite normal to feel completely, you know, lost, unsure where to go next.
I think one of the things that you spoke about is being articulate about what your business, your product or service is really key. And I think understanding pricing is really key. And I think understanding what the market is really key.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes that needs a little bit of hand-holding.
Yes, exactly. And also, I would say 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, where you launch that business and where that business is in 3 years' time is completely different. And where I do see some people get stuck is they really don't want to change, or they don't want to evolve the business because they've spent so much time, energy, and money in the initial phases that they feel like they have to stay in that initial phase or that initial projection for as long as as they personally think to give it a really good try. So I'm not for sort of darting and changing business ideas and propositions too quickly, but at the same time, you've really got to be open to, this is just naturally going to evolve and change, exactly like we do as humans and individual people, and to let it run its course. And if you really stop and you listen to what your audience and your customers are saying in the feedback, that really will help guide you and where you need to go.
One of the things that I always say when you're embarking on any period of change, and I guess that's kind of what I've learned from all the experts that I've spoken to on this ageless platform, is make sure your health can handle it.
Yes.
Make sure that you are ready for the change that's coming. So I always say, have you had your blood test? How are your hormone levels? How's your sleep? How's your sex drive? Is your marriage going to withstand this big pivot? So I always think, in addition to all of, making sure you've got a great accountant, making sure you've got good contracts in place, making sure that, you've got the right laptop and apps to do the business side of things, I always go, are you ready for it? Because any new venture, any pivot requires physical, mental vitality and dexterity. So I always say, find your baseline and make sure you're ready for this.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because it's actually something that I said to someone recently. We went through everything that needed to happen, and I said to her, are you sure that you're ready to do this? Because there's things going on in her personal life. And I said, like, we've got the plan, but whether you do this now or whether you sort those elements out in your personal, you've got to work out what's going to be right for you in the right order. Because you're right, you have to have the baseline to cope with the change that you want to implement, because otherwise, it's likely that it's going to be really stressful or may not be as efficient or effective as you want it to be.
Listening to an amazing podcast the other day by an incredible regenerative doctor, and he was saying, do not underestimate the wonderful benefit of jumping with barefoot, like making contact on a hard floor and just doing star jacks in the morning, even if you can do 20, that when it hits the impact will help strengthen your bones. And I thought, what a great thing that you can just incorporate into your routine. Do you do any sauna or cold plunging or any of that? Have you
just going back, I do the star jumps, but I didn't realize they were that good for me. I do this when the kettle is boiling, I'm doing star jumps.
Good.
So
when the kettle is boiling, so you're doing kind of incidental. Okay, I like it.
Yes. Infrared. I don't think I could do the plunge pool. I'm not very good with cold.
But do you do infrared?
I do infrared, yes.
And how often would you say you did it?
Well, you know what? I've just been on a retreat and I was doing it while I was away, and I'm just about to go and sign up to the one down the road. So I will start doing that 3 times a week.
Do you ever say to your clients, with respect, your brand the way you're appearing doesn't match your brand? I really think you need to, polish that aspect of yourself up. Is that something that you're able to say to people?
I am, and I think that that's one of the reasons why people come to me. Because so many of my clients will say, I've come to you because I know you're going to tell me the truth. I'm very, very black and white, because for me, time's money and people are paying to, come to me for my opinion. So I'm not going to beat around the bush, but in the same way, I'm never going to make someone feel uncomfortable ever, ever, ever. And I'll do things when I know that they're ready to hear them. But yes, like that is just part of the evolution of the brand, is that, we need to relook at the way that we look so that we are fitting inside, we fit with our brand and our business, because otherwise they're two disjointed entities. And that when you run a small business, whether you like it or not, people want to know who's the person behind the brand, who am I buying from? And so it's really important that there's synergy